For the course of the assessment and repair of the steel structure, I need to highlight something very important about the methodology of repair will be illustrated through the Udemy course, but I need to write about the main risk. If you can see here about the photo for the repair of the bridge of the beam that we have, corrosion of the steel bar, covering, and so on. What about the procedure of the repair itself? When you make the repair, when you start to make the repair, in this case, we need, as we will discuss in detail through the course, we remove the concrete cover. After then, we make some adding concrete, adding steel, and so on. When you decrease the concrete cover, the strength it will be reduced. This is very critical in case of the repair the old structure. Repair old structure like the old man. You should deal with him with very care, because we don't need to make repair destroy the structure or destroy the building. So in this session, for example, when you make the repair, you can see something like this. We need some temporary support to be added. Where is the location of temporary support? What about the strength of the temporary support? Because you can imagine that the failure can be happened at any time. And we see some factors of the history, some of the project during repair, it will be destroyed, damaged, because the consultant and the contractor is not familiar with the behavior of the structure itself. So we need to, during this course, we define together how can you understand the behavior of the structure. What about the load pass? How the locations that you need to make some strengthening and make a temporary support for some location. How can you define it? It will be illustrated due to the structure. I adding all session about the relation between the load and the strength. It will be very important. Maybe you need to take some decision. Maybe you need to reduce the load. For some cases, when I make the repair, I reduce the load. Obstruction for the next floor to be unused until we make the repair for some times, according to case by case. So we need to understand what about the case that we have. In case of the strengthening or the repair or the maintenance of the concrete structure, the strength it will be low. When the strength it will be low, what about the degree of the low of the strength itself? When the strength low, the load can be the same, so in general probability of failure it will be high. We need in this new session I will be added about the probability of failure. Probability of failure according to the probability of failure and with the impact. Probability of failure multiplied by the impact equal to the consequence itself. Our consequence here is very dramatic because it will be collapse of the structures. Okay, so we need to reduce the probability of failure as we can to reduce the risk. So we need to do some precaution. Where we are we have total damage for the reinforcement, partial damage of the reinforcement. What about the concrete? About the concrete strength? All this define about the probability of failure that you have. So we need to have some sense about the structure that you have before you go through doing this type of repair. Take care, it is very critical. I need to highlight it again, my colleague. Very important to make about the repair itself, it's very critical. Like we dealing as a doctor, make a medicine for the old man. Very aged man, it will be even to be very care and very critical. Take all your precaution to reduce the risk to the minimum. Okay, thanks a lot, and I wish to enjoy the course. If you have any question, let me know. Thanks a lot.